The laughter started before she even reached the table. It rolled through the briefing room in low, careless waves, boots tapping, chairs scraping, a few voices muttering just loud enough to be heard. When Lieutenant Commander Aisha Cole stepped under the harsh fluorescent lights, the projector froze on her silhouette, and for a split second, the room went quiet. Then someone snorted. Another whispered, "You sure she's in the right room?" The joke landed, and the laughter returned, sharper this time. Aisha didn't stop walking. She had learned long ago that reacting only fed the noise. She placed her folder on the steel table, shoulders squared, eyes steady. Her face gave nothing away. Not the years it took to earn the trident, not the scars hidden under her uniform, not the long nights when doubt gnawed at her harder than any enemy ever had. She had been mocked before, at Bud S, at sniper school, on her first deployment, but this room was different. These were elite operators, men who trusted their lives to the person next to them. And right now, they didn't trust her. The mission was projected behind her. A compound carved into the mountains, 12 confirmed hostiles guarding a high-value target. Intelligence said the terrain was unforgiving, the weather unstable, and the window to strike dangerously small. The commander cleared his throat and nodded at Aisha. "She'll be Overwatch," he said. A few heads turned. One eyebrow raised. Someone leaned back and crossed his arms. "Overwatch," a senior chief muttered. "That ridge is over 3 clicks out. Visibility drops fast up there." "I know," Aisha replied calmly. Her voice cut through the murmurs without rising. "That's why I'll be there before dawn." A chuckle echoed from the back. "No offense, ma'am," another SEAL said, "but this isn't a range demo. We'll need someone who can make the shot." She finished for him. She met his eyes, not challenging, not defensive. Just steady. "I can." The room fell quiet again, heavier this time. The commander ended the discussion before it could turn ugly, but the looks followed her as the briefing wrapped. As the men filed out, Aisha gathered her things alone. She had learned to move through moments like this the way she moved through hostile territory, aware, patient, focused on what mattered. Proving herself wasn't the mission. Completing it was. The climb to the Overwatch position began in darkness. The mountain air was thin and biting, slicing into exposed skin. Aisha moved carefully, each step deliberate, the weight of her rifle familiar and grounding. Her spotter, a quiet operator named Reyes, followed close behind. He hadn't laughed in the briefing room. He hadn't defended her either. But when the ridge finally came into view, he broke the silence. "For what it's worth," he said, adjusting his pack, "I've read your file." She didn't look back. "Then you know I don't miss." He nodded once. That was enough. They reached the ridge just as the first hint of dawn painted the horizon. Below them, the compound sat like a scar in the earth, guards moving in predictable patterns. Aisha set up her rifle, checked the wind, the distance, the angle. Every variable mattered, every breath. In her ear, the radio crackled with updates from the assault team moving into position. The first shot came clean. One hostile dropped without a sound. Aisha adjusted, exhaled, fired again. Another fell. The radio stayed silent except for the soft confirmations. Then the weather shifted. A sudden gust swept across the ridge, throwing off the wind. Aisha recalculated in seconds, fingers steady despite the cold creeping into her bones. The third and fourth shots followed. The compound stirred now, alarms beginning to rise. Multiple contacts moving, came the voice over the radio. "We're compromised." Aisha's jaw tightened. This was where doubt could kill. She blocked out the noise, the pressure, the memory of laughter in the briefing room. She saw only the scope, the crosshairs, the lives of her teammates depending on her precision. She fired again, and again. Each shot was a promise kept. By the time the assault team breached the main structure, Aisha had eliminated 8 hostiles. The remaining guards scattered, some trying to flank, others retreating into cover. The wind howled now, visibility dropping. Reyes called out adjustments, his trust solid and unspoken. Aisha made the hardest shots of her career in those moments, not because of distance or conditions, but because every miss would mean a body bag. 2 left, the commander's voice came through, strained. "Pinned down. We can't move." Aisha scanned the terrain, heart pounding. She spotted them, one behind a rusted vehicle, another crouched near the treeline. The angles were brutal. She slowed her breathing, letting the world narrow. The first shot clipped the edge of cover and found its mark. The second required patience she barely had left. She waited for the hostile to shift, just an inch, just enough. When she fired, the mountain seemed to hold its breath. Then the radio erupted. Targets down. We're clear. Aisha lowered her rifle, muscles shaking as the adrenaline drained. 12 hostiles. 12 shots that mattered. She leaned back against the rock, eyes closing for a brief second. Reyes let out a low whistle. Hell of a morning, he said quietly. The extraction was tense but clean. Back at base, the team moved with the weary efficiency of operators who had faced death and come back. In the debriefing room, the mood was different now. No laughter, no whispers. The commander stood at the front, eyes scanning the faces. Overwatch saved this mission, he said. Lieutenant Commander Cole eliminated all external threats under extreme conditions. Silence followed, thick and charged. Then one of the men who had laughed earlier stood up. He cleared his throat. Ma'am, he said, voice tight, I was wrong. Aisha met his gaze. She nodded once. No speeches, no satisfaction. Respect earned didn't need celebration. Later, alone, she cleaned her rifle, the familiar ritual grounding her again. She thought about the girl she had been once, the one told she didn't belong, that she was too small, too different, too unlikely. She thought about how close she had come to believing it. The mountain had taught her something the world often forgot: strength doesn't announce itself. It shows up when it's needed most. The next mission briefing came weeks later. Aisha walked into the room to quiet attention. No laughter this time, just nods, space made at the table. She took her seat, knowing the work would never get easier, but neither would she ever doubt her place again. Because the real victory wasn't 12 hostiles eliminated. It was the unshakable truth carved into her bones. When the moment comes, skill, courage, and resolve speak louder than mockery ever could. And in that silence, lives are saved, and legends are born.